first time we're aware of anyone being removed from the Aboriginal Land Rights Act for not being able to prove their Aboriginal descent. And to have the registrar here today to confer the processes within the Act, the ability to take action against frauds, breathes a lot of oxygen into our people who, for right or wrong, had been believing and perceiving that we had no right to question someone's identity once they identified themselves as Aboriginal, is what we really hope would be an outcome today.
MLALC CEO Nathan Moran organised the talks, with a number of guest speakers contributing their expertise to the discussions. They were Paul Coe, Stephen Wright, Registrar of the Aboriginal Land Rights Act, Doctors Bob Morgan and Stephen Hagan, and Professor Gracelyn Smallwood. The main issues discussed were a legal definition of Aboriginality, ethnic fraud, identified Aboriginal government funding, and a lack of national standard procedures for confirmation of Aboriginality. Nathan Moran says it's time the issue was tackled openly and consistently.
We want this to be the start of a long conversation to review a concept that's been applied to us and defined on us, but never consulted with us.
Chair of the New South Wales Aboriginal Land Council, Roy RC, is also the elected councillor for the region MLALC falls under, and told the participants Aboriginality is more than a piece of paper.
There's a difference between heritage and culture. Now, RC is not a very common Aboriginal name. They look at that, I've got Chinese heritage. But I can't go to China and claim that I'm Chinese. But I tell you what, culturally, I grew up in my Aboriginal community. I think the challenge for the Land Council system around identity today is that we've got a lot of people that are claiming heritage, but in actual fact, haven't grew up culturally.
Applicants for membership of a local Aboriginal Land Council must meet the current three-part definition under the New South Wales Aboriginal Land Rights Act. The person is a member of the Aboriginal race of Australia and identifies as an Aboriginal person and is accepted by the Aboriginal community as an Aboriginal person. But Wiradjuri woman and MLALC board member Anne Weldon says Aboriginality is complex and people applying for LALC membership don't obtain Aboriginal culture and heritage through their membership alone.
Aboriginality is just not something that you can acquire by going to a meeting or getting a piece of paper to say that you are. The concern about that process now as we speak is that people are using and abusing that process for them to steal or take on positions like jobs, establish their profile so they can go to be far greater things than what they would no doubt arrive at if they are just an ordinary non-Aboriginal person in Australian society.
Anne Weldon says more and more people are seeking confirmation of Aboriginality to access educational funding and other benefits.
See, at Metro, believe me, they actually line up down the stairs to become members so that they can then prove their Aboriginality by saying that they're a member of Metro Land Council. And it saddens me that we've reached the stage that we have because they don't come back. Some people that have become members have never come back. They've certainly used the documentation that they have to get a home loan, to get an Aboriginal housing house, to get a job or to get a university spot and scholarships, right? So what it's doing to us as Aboriginal people is denying people that ordinarily would never be able to access any form of scholarship, any form of housing loan, a job even.
But the New South Wales Registrar, Stephen Wright, says the New South Wales Aboriginal Land Rights Act is clear that each local Aboriginal Land Council must be satisfied it can accept a person as a member.
A person applying for membership of a LALC must prove they meet the definition of Aboriginal person to the satisfaction of LALC members. This means LALC members need to be satisfied on the balance of probabilities that a person is an Aboriginal person, or they should reject the membership application. If a person has their membership application to a LALC rejected, they may ask the registrar to review the decision. That's how the law works in New South Wales.
Newswalk Chair Roy RC agrees, saying the pressure on LALCs is huge.
And some of us have got a heart, we feel guilty. And I think it's sad if we get into that point where we have to let people become a member, then also gives them Aboriginality, and we feel guilty because of that process. Well, then we have to look at other ways of doing this. Now, whether it's a commission, so be it, or whether we look at strengthening our land rights system through the reform process, then that's got to be it.
Gomeroi man and International Engagement Officer at the University of Newcastle, Professor Bob Morgan, has researched and written on the issue of Aboriginal identity for many years. He says although he appreciates the difficulties of the role of registrar, non-Aboriginal people should not determine who or who is not Aboriginal.
This isn't about Steve, the current registrar, so it's not about a personality. This is more about a process and a principle that in this day and age, in the 21st century, we have very, very competent Aboriginal people in our midst who can quite easily do that job for us. So you get a different set of lens examining the complex issues. And Steve, I think, has done a very, very good job as a registrar, and an enviable job, because as a non-Aboriginal person, he's aware that sometimes he has to make very tough decisions that it impacts the lives of Aboriginal people, but it doesn't impact his life. It impacts him personally, but it doesn't impact his life's journey.
One of the most controversial cases in recent years saw the New South Wales Registrar revoke a woman's Land Council membership in 2013 after being unable to find conclusive proof of her Aboriginal ancestry. It was brought to his attention after a 6-year investigation by Elder Ray Peckham and Bernadette Riley, both from Dubbo. Bernadette says it's too easy for people to claim Aboriginality and not be questioned about it.
Something so basic and so important, you can just tick a box and say, I'm an Aboriginal person. You can tick it on the census, you can tick it on a school enrolment, and you don't really have to give any verification for it.
The MLALC forum was sparked by the Dubbo case, and Bernadette says she hopes it starts a new conversation with tangible outcomes.
Even though it's a rotten thing to happen, it's really positive things in terms of reigniting, that collective spirit, especially somewhere here. I mean, my great-grandfather was here in 1938, and here we are 80 years later, still talking about the same issues that they were talking about 80 years ago.
Dr. Bob Morgan agrees. The issue's been debated for generations. The MLALC Forum produced a communiqué with a number of outcomes, including Aboriginal people and communities should determine who is Aboriginal, not government. Ethnic fraud is a crime, and the establishment of an Aboriginal register managed by Aboriginal people to address fraudulent claims of Aboriginality and self-identification.
So it's a complex and often contested area that we're dealing with. So, as I say, there's no one single solution, but what is required is these types of forums. I'm not comfortable with the process because I don't think we should just be talking about this. We need to be designing processes to move beyond the talk.